Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Well, this is not quite how we imagined this event unfolding, but as we all know, 2020 has been full of surprises so far. I'm Garrett Smith, the Cisco Collaboration BDM for Westcon-Comstor, and in this session we have Vanessa Sulikowski, Distinguished Architect, Cisco. Vanessa will be talking to us today about transforming the workspace and customer experience for when we get back into the office with intelligent technology securely. Vanessa, the floor is yours.
Hello everyone, I'm Vanessa and it's a real pleasure to chat to you today on transforming workspace experiences, but in particular, how you can enable intelligent, flexible workspaces. It's a new decade and boy, what a start to the decade we've had. There's been considerable disruption across all industries and nearly every organisation has had no choice but to adapt and change the way your people are working. Now, the good news is that intelligent technology will actually be able to help us with the new and changed ways that we'll need to work. Now, at the start of the year, we had that usual busy and buzzing New Year's energy in our offices, and our workplaces were that usual hive of activity, and then suddenly, within a couple of weeks, we went from this active workplace to this emptiness. And unfortunately, for most organisations, our knowledge workers have temporarily left the building. And this has meant that the way the majority of your people work together in their teams and doing their physical meetings all together in the office, they now need to do here from home. And they need to be able to be productive from home. And what that means is that remote collaboration from secure virtual workspaces has become more crucial than ever. And the challenge is everyone has different physical setups and they have different technologies at home, but they also have their families at home. They've got their spouses, their kids and their pets, and everybody's vying for their attention. And what most organisations are now realising, and something that I've actually believed for a long time, is that work is what you do, not where you are. Your people are still working, they're just not in the office at the moment. And the big question is, how well have they been working? Are they just doing emails and basic messaging and basic calls and conferencing? And is that good enough? The new evolving flexible workspaces need to enable your people to be able to do all of their activities and be productive from anywhere at any time. And when we think about those key activities that your people need to do, at the core, they need to connect to people and they need to connect to content. They need to connect with their teams and their customers, and they need to be able to do things like persistent messaging and team sharing. And they need to have engaging calls and meetings, and they need to be able to create and co-create and share content with people inside and outside your organisation. Now, you may associate Webex with meetings, but Webex is also our secure collaboration platform, and it can enable your workforce to be productive from anywhere. And it'll allow them to actively collaborate from what will become their 3 key workspaces. At home, so enabling them to be productive while they're juggling that work and home life. When they are on the go, and as they start moving again, especially with the restrictions easing, they need to be able to collaborate and easily transition from one workspace to another. And then when we do get back into the office, we will need to consider how we elevate that experience to meet those new and changed expectations we'll see. Plus, and also very importantly, we're going to need to cater for those social physical distancing rules, and these will need to be upheld for maybe a long time yet. When we look at people working from home, now more than ever, team collaboration has become so important. We need team spaces to stay connected to our teams and connect with new teams. And we need things like persistent messaging and content so you can catch up on all your team activities and all your team requirements, but when you can, on your timetable. And this has become crucial because in these trying times, none of us are working normal hours, and we may never work what is considered normal hours again. And when typing gets too cumbersome, we also need to be able to do calling and meetings. And what's been really interesting is even though we're at home, we're still doing lots and lots of meetings. Actually, we seem to be doing more meetings. All those coffee machine or hallway or stairway chats that we had are now virtual meetings. So you need to be able to easily join and participate in virtual meetings and also share content. But not just share content, be able to actively co-create and whiteboard, which virtual team workspaces can provide. Now, one of the good things that we've seen come out of these really challenging times is that people are embracing video, and we've seen a phenomenal increase in video usage, and actually it's steadily climbing. And hopefully all of you have had the chance to witness just how inclusive video can be. And like how we're seeing and hearing comments on the state of people's home offices or their lounge or their dining room where they're trying to work, but we're also getting introduced to people's families and to their pets. And we've seen some amazing examples of employee engagement. Things like weekly video check-ins and virtual social hours. And this has been so important for people to feel connected. Now, for most users, the desktop collaboration and meetings experience will probably be good enough, but we are hearing of things like desktop video fatigue. And every organisation has their high-profile users, those people that are spokesperson for the organisation, and those high-intensity people that have back-to-back meetings from dawn till late. And these users may need an even better experience than desktop video. Now, to provide them the best experience and interactions for them to the key people and customers that they need to interact with, a video device like this could be easily enabled for them to use at home. Now, as your restrictions start easing today, people will want to start getting out and about again after that isolation hibernation. So they will need to be able to connect and collaborate from wherever they happen to be. So mobile collaboration apps for their mobiles and tablets and smart devices and car integrations will be able to give them that ability to collaborate from anywhere. Once we do slowly start going back into the office, we will probably see things like staggered start times and staggered office days, and our hours will definitely be different. People will need to be able to seamlessly transition from workspace to workspace. So start working from home and then continually collaborating while they're on the move. Like Sherry here, so she can easily join a meeting on her way into the office and then seamlessly transition to the office when she does get there without disrupting her calls or her meeting. Now, getting back into our offices is going to be a process, and we're likely to see a staged re-entry into the workplaces, as many organisations will implement impact minimisation policies. And we may see requirements like only a half or a third of key deans are in the office at the same time. And this is really, to minimise that impact of any potential exposure. What we won't see for a while is this relaxed and lots of people gathered together like you see here. These great new agile and activity-based workplaces that many organisations have moved to, especially in New Zealand, where you and in Australia have been leading the world in transforming to flexible agile workspaces. But we simply can't congregate in these tight groups or share seats, and we won't be able to have these very full meeting rooms that you see here. Now, with these challenges in mind, I wanted to share with you some of the ways I think technology can help us to navigate going back into our offices. Now, firstly, we are going to need to start rethinking how we use the office, as those social and physical distancing rules really can't be ignored. And this is where innovations in technology, so things like AI intelligence and automation, will help us safely interact in our workplaces. And one of the key challenges will be meetings. And as we will most likely not see our whole team or entire teams in the same location at the same time, this will mean that the majority of meetings will need to actually be hybrid or blended meetings with in-office and remote attendees. So video will be crucial because these meetings will have both physical and virtual components. So including virtual meetings capabilities will need to be a default in all meetings. We also need to ensure that the experience for the remote participants is as good as possible, as the remote participants need to be active participants and not just passengers on a desktop. Now, secure virtual workspace technology that connects the physical and remote and mobile workspaces all together will ensure that those remote participants are now fully included active participants and not second-class citizens. We really do need to start using our meeting spaces differently. With social distancing, we won't be able to sit right next to each other. We'll need to spread out like you see here. We need technology to help us enable those more hybrid virtual meetings, but also technology to determine where social distancing is not being adhered to. To do this, we need intelligent spaces. So what you see here is 4 meeting spaces, and in these rooms, they're not video endpoints. Well, they're not just video endpoints. They're in fact AI-enabled intelligent workplace devices. They're actually sophisticated sensors that know as soon as someone walks into a room, and they can detect and count people, but they also enable things like intelligent pairing and contactless interactions. So these AI technologies will become important considerations, like speech-enabled digital assistants, as using voice-enabled interactions and voice commands will probably become one of the preferred access methods into meetings and calls, as people will strive for contactless interactions. So instead of touching a panel or a controller, because it may have been used in a previous meeting, people would rather use their own device, so their own paired desktop or mobile to control the meeting, or to have a completely physical contactless interaction by using their voice. So I'd like to take you through and show you some of the intelligent sort of cognitive capabilities that could help us with this visibility, but also with the contactless interaction. Now, the room video devices can do advanced facial detection, and they can also do people count. Now, previously, this intelligent people count technology had garnered a lot of interest from the workplace resources people because they wanted to use it for workspace usage visibility. But I believe now this intelligent people count will be a key part of risk mitigation policies. As we do need to use those spaces differently, and we can't have our usual packed meeting rooms where people are dragging in extra chairs to try and fit everybody in the room, we will need to consider room maximums, and so such as a maximum of 4 people in a medium-sized room. And the people count technology could be used to send an alert if this threshold is breached when there's 5 people in that room. And one of the really cool and great things about this people count technology is that it does the people count passively, meaning that you don't even need to be using the video endpoint. It'll just let you know that 4 people are physically in the room if they're just having 4 people for a physical meeting in the room. Your people will most likely prefer to use their own devices, their own mobiles or tablets to interface with a meeting room instead of physically touching something. And our intelligent proximity pairing technology knows as soon as someone walks in the room, and their device will instantly pair with the endpoint. And then the user can use their own device to connect and control the meeting or control a call. So they use their device to do things like mute, as well as sharing, and if they want to add people into the call. And this intelligent pairing capability also allows you to move a meeting or a call from one device to another. So you could actually start the meeting on your mobile or your desktop and then move it seamlessly into the meeting space. Speech-enabled digital assistants that have been seen as a bit of a gimmick will now become very popular. With these digital assistants, people can use their voice to start and control the meeting. And this includes all the key meeting functions like sharing content, adding people to meetings, muting, the volume control. You could ask it to add individual participants, like ask it to call Vanessa and add me into the meeting. And to make this interaction as natural and easily as possible for your people, we use natural language understanding to provide a question and answer model. So if I walk into a room and say, okay, Webex, join the meeting, and it's 1:15 the hour, and there was a meeting scheduled at 9 a.m. and one at past, it'll actually ask me which meeting would I like to join. And what's also cool is we even have automatic proactive join. So if you walk into a room and you pair to the device and have a meeting scheduled, the room will proactively ask if you want to join the meeting. So as you see here, Jane walks into the room and the Webex assistant will ask if Jane would like to join the meeting. Now this is going to be great for those that are a little scared or a little shy of this type of technology. So they might not want to say, okay, Webex, join the meeting. But if they're asked a question like, do you want to join the meeting, they're probably likely to respond yes. Now, since we will need to reconsider how we use space, like the maximum amount of people in rooms, this actually may mean that the same meeting may span multiple meeting spaces. So a meeting with 10 people may now take 3 rooms, 4 people in one room and 3 people in 2 other rooms. And what this means is that we are really going to have to think about how we manage our meeting spaces. And we probably will need more meeting spaces than ever. So we can't use the traditional methods of using calendar to book our meeting rooms, because it's already completely misused today. And we see high percentages of people booking rooms and not using them. And we just can't have a situation where somebody books 3 rooms for a meeting and then doesn't use them. So we need to start managing our spaces in different ways, such as shifting to a majority of on-demand usage of rooms. And on-demand, I think, will become a key way to deal with some of these potential space contention issues. Here, all the rooms that were in green should be on-demand usage only and not be able to be booked by users in their calendar. And yes, you will still need to schedule some key meetings, so only the rooms that are in blue should be able to be scheduled. Now, to actually get this on-demand usage of rooms to work very well, you do need technology to help. And as I mentioned earlier, the endpoints know when there is someone physically in the room or not. So we can indicate which rooms are available, which are in use, and which were just booked in calendar, but there's nobody in there. So you can start to actually Uberize the use of meeting spaces. Now also, the Webex Assistant can be used to do on-demand, just-in-time reservations of the meeting space. So when you are physically in the room, then you can say, okay, Webex, reserve this room. And it'll even do intelligent meeting extensions. It'll actually notify you that the meeting end time is approaching and ask if you want to extend the reservation. Now, if you ask directly to extend the reservation, but the room is already reserved after your meeting, it'll then suggest another suitable room that is available. Now, the way all of this works is that the AI room devices can work in conjunction with apps and portals and room panels that are outside or panels that are inside the room. And so when somebody needs a space, they can search an app or a portal for available space. So if you're walking past and see a room is available, you can go in, and as soon as someone walks into that room, the space status will change to in use. Now, this intelligent reservation technology will also work as a complement to calendar booking. So if a room is booked, but no one is physically in the room, let people know that the room has been booked, but nobody's actually in there. And then after a certain amount of time, so say 10 minutes, if no one shows up, release the room. And then as soon as someone does walk into the room, reserve the room and let everybody know that the room is now in use. The on-demand usage of rooms will give us some leeway, but we're probably still going to be space constrained. So we need to get innovative about how we use technology-enabled spaces. And we need to try and use all of the space that is available. Here you see some great examples. A new age video booth that's in an unused stairwell. A single pod collaboration area for a single user. And I think these will become pretty popular. And in the center there, this is what one of our customers did, is they put magnetic walls in all the hallways. And so that's actually my iPad stuck up on the wall, and I could do a stand-up video meeting in the hallway. You'll need to make every one of those ugly little unused corners, benches, and unused walls into productive technology-enabled spaces. So when your people need a space, they will have an intelligent space available that knows as soon as someone walks into the room or into that area, and the device will wake up and greet them, and it will instantly pair to their devices. And the assistant will know they have a hybrid virtual meeting scheduled. It'll reserve the room, and then it'll proactively ask if you want to start your meeting. Now, if you just want to do an ad hoc meeting, so maybe a one-on-one, as I think these will most likely now need to be done by video, and maybe even in back-to-back rooms instead of two people physically sitting next to each other. So you can just walk in and pair to the room and say, okay, Webex, call Vanessa. As you're paired, it will know who your frequent contacts are and which Vanessa you want to call. So easy and safe, contactless interactions. Well, unfortunately, there is no going back to 2019. Flexible working is here to stay. And even those organisations that were strongly against working from home will need to potentially reconsider providing flexible workspace options to their employees. As we'll probably see, for some people, working from home instead of being the exception becomes the norm. And we will need to consider separating teams and staggering the days and times that they all need to work. And they'll all need secure, flexible, and intelligent workspaces that allows them to transition between those workspaces. Now, the good news is most of this intelligent technology is available for you to start enabling and take advantage of today. Thank you.